Hey everybody, welcome back to the K2N Online Paddle School. We are back here on YouTube and we have another episode of the K2N vlog. Back in Florida here, there's not a lot going on, just doing normal club practices, doing lessons on the lake, and just the standard K2N week here. In Florida, a lot of the races start to really slow down in the summertime because the temperature gets to a life-threatening level of heat, and we're really starting to feel that already in May. Going out midday right now is like really, really brutal. So the primary focus is just working on training, working on developing skills more so than doing events this time of year. I got this really cool jersey from a pair that came down from Calgary, Canada to sharpen their skills for the OC1 time trial for Team Canada. They both made the national team for Canada, and we exchanged jerseys. This also reminds me that I probably need to spend the money and upgrade to actually having cool K2N race jerseys again. We have the dry fit shirts that we've been using for racing, but after having a few of these style shirts on, I realized that we could probably have some really intricate and cool K2N jerseys available. I've been handing out the dry fit shirts in bulk at the clinics that I've been attending, and I have an order of like 200 shirts that are incoming. I should get them this week. And so if you see me at a clinic and you're in attendance, you will get a free t-shirt. Take it, don't pay me, please wear it. It's good advertising. We also have hats that we're gonna be doing. I've never had hats made through a company before, so I don't know if they're like stamped on with a logo or if it's embroidered on or how that works. But we have a bunch of high-vis hats in yellow, orange, and pink as well. The footage this week is from OC6 practice on Saturday. We have two OC6s here at Lake Hernando, and we're starting the process of dividing up boats and trying to figure out how to balance the two teams in order to have a close race over a 7-mile distance or 3-mile distance, depending on what day of the week it is for practice. So my wife was steering the new canoe that we've gotten, and I was steering the old canoe. I had 5 paddlers in my boat. She had 6 paddlers in her boat, and it was fairly balanced, but we were a little bit slower being down a person comparatively to her canoe. We were supposed to have a 6th person, and they canceled like last second on us, so it made it hard to kind of scramble around who goes in what boat. And that's kind of part of the process, is trying to figure out everybody's skill level at the time of the race or the practice that we're doing, and trying to balance out these canoes. That way everybody can get a pretty good workout in. It's a lot of fun racing 2 canoes like that. I haven't had that much time that close to another OC6 with my own OC6. So trying to figure out the positioning, how to navigate the turns, there is a learning curve on that. I want to believe that you can draft OC6s side by side, but the wake is just not there. But the idea of it is there, because you can see the wave coming off the back of the boat and trying to position your boat there. It's like, am I getting a benefit for being here, or should I just go off to the side and just go around and pick my own line? So that is a developing process, is trying to figure out how to draft OC6s, just trying to get every advantage possible. So this week's talking point, we're talking about making paddling into a pushing sport, right? When I work with people one-on-one, when I work in these clinic settings, that is one of the biggest ideas that we try to convey, right? Is you want to try and push into your paddle strokes in order to effectively move your whole body. Intuitively, you hand somebody a paddle and tell them to propel a craft through the water. The first thing that they are going to do is they are going to pull their way through that motion. It is the most instinctual and intuitive way to go through a paddle stroke. Understanding how to push your body into it opens up a lot of complex ideas into a simple fundamental. You are trying to push through the stroke. This opens up rotation, it opens up the usage of your top hand, it opens up the usage of your leg pushing. Relying on the pushing mechanics only help accentuate the inherent pulling capacities of a paddle stroke. And this is one of the reasons that paddling is such a learned motion, right? You could say that about all dynamic motion, where it's really hard to have somebody instantaneously do it perfectly, right? There are a lot of refinements that go into mastering the skill, and figuring out how to push, again, is very learned. Instinctually, pull is going to move a vessel forward. You're not wrong. Like, if you pull, you will move a craft forward. We are just limited in how we're using our body and using the tool, and it's almost counterintuitive to think of it as a pushing motion. One of the first indicators that pushing is such a vital part of the paddle stroke mechanic is looking at sprint canoe and kayak clubs, right? There's an optimization representing their country, spending and dedicating their entire existence to going fast, right? So when they train off water, there is a specific regimen of pushing exercises and pulling exercises, to the point that within a certain time period, you could track a user's success on a race course based on their body weight, how much they can bench press, and how much they can bench row, which is essentially laying on a bench and doing a reverse bench press where you're pulling it. And this would be the idea that most all the technique is relatively the same. This ratio dictates your placing at the world level, right? Like a lot of countries needed these metrics to be hit before they put you out on a race course, because they just kind of knew that if you didn't reach these metrics, you couldn't perform as well as you could. And so bench press, like you're literally bench pressing to make a paddling team, right? So there is a fundamental component of pushing that goes into your paddle stroke. Why would optimized coaching programs go into the amount of time and effort to maximize pushing ability if it wasn't a component of a paddle stroke? And so when we teach these ideas, we want to try to prioritize the pushing mechanic, because the majority of people conceptually don't think of paddling in this way, and they don't approach the stroke in this way. So they miss a whole list of different mechanics that they are not even thinking about. Is pushing the most vital part of a paddle stroke? It could be argued yes or no, but for the majority of racers in the world, if they spend more time trying to figure out how to make it a pushing sport, they will get more return on their time investment than trying to make it a pulling sport. Part of the reason for this is pulling, intuitively, we want to do it at the elbow, right? Yanking with your arm is the #1 sin that we see within the paddle stroke, right? So when people focus on pulling too much, they end up just pulling with their arm more and more and more. When they are learning to push, it's not just the arm that pushes into the motion, because we can push with the shoulder, and I can push with my hip, and I can push with my opposite leg to power that pushing fundamental, right? There are so many components that go into pushing that are more limited in the pulling dynamic itself. So it's one of the biggest ones. If you can take a brand new paddler off the street and the first thing that you can get across to them is make it a pushing sport, give them a few drills to put these ideas into practice, you would be shocked at how competent their paddle stroke becomes immediately. Their feel of the water, their length in the water, their usage of the body, all of these pieces all start to fall into place if they try to push into the stroke. And so you're able to expedite this process of taking new people and putting them into a race boat in a very short amount of time. If you make it a pulling motion, they are going to navigate round and round trying to figure out how to find all these other fundamentals, because they can't find it with their bottom arm exclusively. So it's just something to keep in mind, right? Making the pivot into a pushing sport. If you're watching this video and you're like, holy crap, I don't even know how to push into a paddle stroke, we have a whole bunch of videos that can help you understand these ideas, put them into practice, and make you a better paddler. And if you have these core fundamentals down, try to prioritize it when you're conveying information to the next generation of paddler. Excellent. I hope you guys enjoy the OC6 footage. If there's any topics or subjects you would like to see discussed, feel free to reach out anytime. You can leave a comment below or send me an email. If you want to swap jerseys and see your jersey broadcasted here on the K2N Online Paddle School, let me know, and you can send one. I'll send you one right back. Thank you guys so much for the ongoing support, and we'll see you all next week for the next K2N vlog episode. All right, everybody, welcome back to Lake Hernando. We got the two OC6s out. This is the first time that we've done our long course, which is 7.25 miles, 11.6 kilometers with the two different boats. One of the things that we're trying to flesh out here is dividing up the crews, different skill levels, different steers people, and trying to get that all balanced out. So this is our first run, and you know, just trying to piece it together. We did a couple roster swaps last second, and we're missing a person in my canoe. We were supposed to have a paddler and they weren't able to make it, so we swapped some people around. So we have 3 guys in my boat, 2 ladies, and then Christina's boat has 3 ladies and 2 guys. Some of our faster male paddlers are in her boat, and then it's balanced out with myself steering this canoe, and you can see we're hitting it, going off the start line. And overall, the canoes are pretty evenly matched. Off of the start, I knew they would be very fast, so as we go into our canal system here, we're behind, but playing the long game, I wasn't too worried and that we would catch up to them. This canal system with the 2 boats is our first time going through here, and there's a lot of boats that go through here, so we try to agree that anytime that we're in here, we go single file. So it worked out that letting them run ahead made this a lot safer to navigate, and we have to navigate it on the way back as well. And so coming out of the canal system, you can see we started to catch up quite a bit, and we're starting to try to close the gap. You can see I'm paddling constantly. I don't know if I poke in any of these clips. I'm sure I do, but for the most part, it's there's a poke. For the most part, it's all forward strokes and just trying to stay navigating. I think some of the pokes are engaged by looking at Christina's steering. Usually when I'm just out here by myself, I can make some of the corrections a little bit longer, but having another canoe in front of you and making the adjustments are necessary. So Christina comes in and she cuts the turn. If this was a regatta race, that right there would be a disqualification. And so I wanted to go on the outside of it, but I was worried that if I went outside that I would run my nose into her tail. So in the moment, I cut the turn as well and hit. So turn radius, if I match her turn radius, I know I won't hit her. And if I go wider than her to dodge the buoy, there's a chance that I run into her canoe. So those buoys are there, you know, to get hit, they move. It's not a big deal. If you can't mess up at practice, then, you know, you're not allowed to mess up anywhere and you never learn. So it's part of the process. Coming out of the turn, trying to make a move, trying to get around this canoe, but every time we started to sneak up on them, they would start sprinting, and we just did not have the horsepower to actually get around them. It's funny racing the OC6s because, like, you're one boat length away, but you're still 45 feet behind the canoe, right? So it takes a lot of effort to try and sneak up and get around canoes. So it's not as quick or nimble as a OC1, or even on a SUP, you know, you're right behind somebody, you only have to make up like 14 feet. With this, it's like it feels like an eternity to try to get around people. But you can see we're fairly evenly matched. Christina goes a little bit easy, you know, just to keep the boats closer, and I'm pushing as hard as I friggin' can to try and, you know, stay relevant in this. And looking at the position here, you can see the wake coming off of the AMA, and I like to think that we're drafting here, but it's just, I don't think it really actually does, but position-wise, it looks nice having the 2 canoes so close to each other. So we can't get around them as we go into the canal here. So following right behind Christina, going nose to tail. I can't see the nose of the boat when, you know, you're steering an OC6. So I'm just kind of hoping that we don't bump there. You just have a feel that, you know, where that nose is at. And we're pretty close, but we don't make physical contact or anything. And as part of the fun of steering the large boats is getting a feel for that turn radius and the length. So going back onto the first lake, we're coming into the finish, and their canoe starts to speed up. The GoPro actually dies before we go across the finish line, but you can see that we have, like, you know, 100 meters left here. They're a boat length ahead, and we don't have much of a chance to catch up to them and finish the job. But it was a lot of fun. It was great. I think everybody pushed really hard, and that's the most important thing at practice, is that everybody is pushing hard and getting better. That little extra pressure to perform is the difference in getting better over time. Thank you guys so much for checking out the K2N Online Paddle School vlog, and we'll see you all next week for the next episode.